introduction again. Bollocks. Right, let me get comfortable. Yeah, why do I always do that with my hands? I'm a freaking spider or something. There's southern water. Why is my hand like so big? It is the first episode of my new series. Sorry, Netflix. This is the first video for my mental health segment on YouTube. Now, if you'd watched my video from last week, I will link it below. What I thought for my first video is, how in the world can I give advice if I'm not actually going to tell you anything about me? And I feel like it's unfair to those who want to take this advice and not know what's happened about me, because I can just splurge out all of this advice and not know nothing. It's like going to a doctor and then not having a certificate up on the wall. I want to give you an outline today. Bear with me because it's all kind of jumbled in my head. I feel like I need to put out my hair because it's really getting on my nerves. Oh, sorry. What was that? I don't actually remember a lot of it, but you'll understand as I tell you. Get your duvet, get your mugs, this is gonna be a long one. Pause it, get cookies, everything. So we'll start from the very beginning. Sixth form, it just wasn't the same. And I understand sixth form is very different. Very different to the lower years. I just didn't feel like me. And nothing had happened until I just didn't want to be there, I didn't want to study, like, but to me in my head that was just me being a petulant teenager who didn't want to do this anymore. I wanted to go off into the big bad world. I didn't know what I wanted to do at that time. I didn't have a clue. I was doing all these new subjects, and in fact, to begin with at sixth form, I was doing drama, English lit, psychology, and philosophy and ethics. Philosophy and ethics, I hated. My brain just couldn't wrap my head around it, and I'd spend every lesson almost in tears. What is wrong with me? I was like, nope, not doing it. So I went to my head of sixth form and basically just said, philosophy and ethics isn't for me, can I take something else? No, you're taking business. And I said, right, has business got a lot of maths in it? No maths whatsoever. Bless her, what she didn't realise, as soon as I jumped into business, we were at the maths section. I just broke. And I believe this was kind of like the build up to what was going to happen to me. No. So I went back to my sixth form, head of sixth form, and I was like, I can't do it. Please just let me drop it. At the age of 16, I was going, my life's over. Just because I found business and philosophy and ethics so hard, and I was being taken back to that place at my old school where I just felt so stupid. So I just walked into head office and I was like, nope, I'm bugging off. That or I'm leaving. It's as simple as that, because I couldn't do it. So they let me drop it. Dynamics in the school changed a bit because there were new people, all lovely. It was just weird because we had our friendship groups beforehand and people had left. It was sad for us, but then we were meeting new people and it was just all quite a confusing time and quite a few people were struggling. So it wasn't just me. So in my head I was like, this is normal. Christmas passes, everything's getting back to normal in my mind. Sound. And then my mum's birthday comes around, January, and we were meant to be going out for a meal. I get a text saying, Dad's been admitted to hospital for something that isn't a massive thing at all. And I'm okay, I'm worried, but I'm alright. I had mocks coming up, so that was my point of view, and Dad was very much, you concentrate on mocks. So I was on that. He has the surgery, something goes wrong, he gets very, very ill. I was sat in our sixth form room, it was a Wednesday. I was sat with some of my friends and I get a phone call from my boarding house saying, you need to come to the boarding house right away, your mum's here, something's happened with your dad. I don't even know how I reacted, I can't remember. And everyone was trying to stay positive, you know, oh, this isn't good. Turns out my dad is in intensive care with septicemia. Put it this way, if my mum had not taken him into hospital at the time that she did, half an hour later, he would not be here right now. And I remember just walking into the hospital and seeing someone that you have looked up to your whole life so looking like death. But in my mind I was like, right, I'm staying strong for Dad. I block it out. Nothing was going on. But in my mind, if I blocked it out, then everything would be alright. So my dad thankfully came out of hospital yonks later. There were 2 points that it kind of clicked with me that I could have lost my dad. I had to deal with it. First time, I was in my boarding house room and I was peeling an orange and it just hit me, oh. And thankfully one of my boarding house girls came into the room and I was just on the floor in tears with this orange. That was crud. Number 2 point was when I realised not only do I have to deal with this, but something else isn't right with me. I get a text from my mum. It's been about 2 weeks since my dad came out. Another text. Dad has to go back in. It's okay, but just to let you know. I don't know what happened. I know what happened in my brain, but what I was told what happened outside of that, very, very different. So I had what I called, after I knew what was going on, it was an episode. This was the turning point for me. This was when I began to get very, very ill. I am stood in the comm room, I get the text through. And I was in the middle of talking to my mates and I remember just saying, oh hang on, give me 2 secs, from my mum. And no one actually knew what was going on during that time. People knew that something was going on because I was coming in and out of school, but I didn't want to tell anyone during that time. And I read this message. It's going to sound unreal. Everything's slowed down. I remember looking at my friends and they were talking to me but I couldn't hear them. And to me I was going, what? What? I can't... What are you saying? And they were saying to me, like I could make out their lips, like, Dad's ill, Dad's ill. And I remember in my head, I felt so suffocated. I felt like everyone was staring at me. I remember looking around, everything was slow but everyone's eyes were on me. I felt physically sick, it was cold, and then hot, and then I broke and I ran. So in my mind, everyone was staring at me, everyone was saying this stuff to me that I didn't want them knowing. I felt like I was being ridiculed. But then I was in this slow motion thing, like I was having a panic attack. I couldn't breathe, I thought I was gonna die. I vomited, and it was awful. What really happened was no one was looking at me. My friends were trying to speak to me, asking if I was okay, and nothing was, I was just staring. The lights were on, but no one was home. I was literally just staring at them, like this. And that was when I knew I was ill. So I'd go home, I'd then spend hours in my room just crying and crying and crying, and I began to struggle at school. I couldn't interact with people. My mum and dad ended up taking me to a specialist because I was so paranoid. I wouldn't go out the house. I thought my friends hated me. I thought my teachers hated me. I thought I was going to fail at life. Like, no, I was going nowhere. I'd scream, I'd throw things, I would punch things, and I would get in this spiral, this out of control spiral of he hates me or she hates me, so then this must happen, and then if that happens, that happens, and if that happens, and that happens, and then you just go into this black hole. And then I went to specialist, and my diagnosis was severely depressed and anxious. And then I went through this period where I couldn't cry. Good month. And I felt like I couldn't breathe. And I remember saying to my doctor, why can't I cry? It's like I'm emotionless. I didn't smile. I didn't laugh. I didn't cry. Oh, I've got a paper cut. I didn't get angry. I was like The Walking Dead. I wasn't me. I was quiet. I was shy. I was anxious. I couldn't look at people in the eye. That was a big thing. So then I got sent to a counsellor, and through all of this, I told no one. So people just thought that, from an outsider's point of view, I was selfish, I was mean. Yeah. So every lunchtime I go back to my boarding house, I would have about 3 spoonfuls of noodles every lunchtime, and then I'd come out, wouldn't talk to anyone. Spent a lot of my time in the toilet. School was just not the place for me at that time. I looked ill, so I took 2 weeks off school because at this point I was just dipping in and out of school. I wasn't going to lessons. I was refusing to go to lessons. I was refusing to get out of bed in my boarding house. Blah. Ended up taking the 2 weeks. I came back. I had my makeup done again. I had my hair like nicely up in a ponytail. I had my shirts ironed because when I was ill, I stopped caring about myself. I would stop eating, I wouldn't shower, I wouldn't leave my room. I was disgusting because you don't care about yourself when you're in that state. You just want to be put in a box, left there for a few years until you get better. You don't want to face the problem. I was all positive, and then the thoughts started coming back again as soon as I walked in to that common room. Because I'd had 2 weeks off school and no one knew why, I felt like everyone was staring at me. They weren't. Probably they were thinking, where the hell was Elspeth been? Lucky knob, she got to have 2 weeks off school. In my mind it was, where the hell have you been? Why are you bunking off? What's wrong with you? You're disgusting, blah blah blah. And I couldn't handle it. That was my last day at school. People didn't understand what was wrong with me. It was scary for people. Yeah. I home studied, did my exams, and I started to get better. I did CBT, cognitive behavioural therapy. Everything was going well. I went on holiday to Ibiza, my first holiday, like girls' holiday. Incredible. Got accepted into drama school. I knew where I was going. Everything was marvellous. I was back to my normal self. My mum and dad, like, blessed, during the time I was ill, me, my mum and my dad, man, the arguments that we had because I thought they were my enemy. Paranoia is lethal. Lethal. And I decide I'm going to come off my medication without telling anyone. February 2018, a whole year later since my episode, I have a massive episode again. Massive. So I ended up locking myself in my room, didn't shower, didn't eat. My dad had to travel all the way up to London to take me all the way back home for the weekend. I thought the world was on top of me. Like, is she gonna have to drop out of drama school? Blah blah blah. So I came back. My mum had to stay with me for a week because I had to wean myself back onto my medication. I'm gonna leave that for another video to say what happened during that week. But after that week was over, since then, I have my moments, but I've learned how to deal with them. Whereas back at school, I didn't have a clue. Of course I get anxious, of course I get depressed, of course I get sad, of course I get angry. But I talk to people now. And I'm so proud of myself for where I've come. Sorry if this video was a bit jumbled around. This is number 1 out of the however many videos there's gonna be. But I hope you've enjoyed it. I don't know if that's the right word, but I feel like this weight has just been lifted off my shoulders. This is really weird. This is surreal. Man. Oh, I've got pins and needles in my foot. My foot. We're on the road to recovery, and it's gonna be fabulous. I will see you next Sunday for part 2. Have a lovely rest of your Sunday. I hope you have a big roast. See you later.